how British do you feel?
I don't know, how does one feel British? How does one, there you go, how does one feel British? I drink a lot of tea. I don't know, what makes you feel British?
Nancy has lived in Britain since she was 6 years old and has brought up her own family here.
Me and Deja were raised so British. Like, we grew up in Eastbourne. We're the most British people. But and all my life I felt British, but recently I don't feel included at all.
I was born in the Gambia and I came to the UK in 1988. I came over here because my dad's a British citizen and my mum, she's Gambian. She's been in England since the age of 13 and she was working here as a nurse. That's why we all came back over here together.
Nancy's mum came to Britain from the Gambia, part of a movement of thousands of Commonwealth citizens that became known as the Windrush generation. They were invited over to work and given settled status, but crucially, no paperwork to confirm this.
About 500,000 people came from various colonial countries. They were granted official permanent residence in a time when we were a much less sort of documentation-obsessed society, and so they got nothing to prove that they had this status.
Nancy's only proof of British citizenship was a stamp in her Gambian passport, and that got stolen in 2007.
The car window got smashed and things got taken out of the car and my passport was in the boot in my bag. It's only after I went to get the stamp put onto my new passport that the problem started. And they couldn't find me on the system, in the Home Office system.
Nancy's status began to be questioned by the authorities.
When you go to get council housing, you need to show them ID. So my ID would have been my passport that had my immigration status in it. It was only because of the children that they had to give us emergency housing.
That's when things suddenly started to tumble down.
Yeah.
But before, me and Deja were just worried about shelter.
Yeah.
That's what we were like waiting for on the edge of our seats.
Nancy had her housing and child benefits stopped. Her children were blocked from attending university.
It's so frustrating. There's been so many doors just like closed. It's just like, what else can I do right now?
The wind out of you, yeah.
And it's really like seeing all my friends, like when they go to university now, like them in lectures.
This is what I hate.
Like, that could be me.
You see everything everyone's doing. It's just like, I'm sitting here watching you guys do what I should be also doing.
No,
I should be there. I should be.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm not gonna like be successful.
Yeah, you don't really have a purpose, really.
Every few months I'll get a letter asking me to make arrangements to leave the country. It's like anxious all the time. My case has baffled everybody. I didn't think that there would be anybody that would be able to help us.
Why did you decide to take on Nancy's case?
Because it was difficult. What makes you take on a pro bono case is if it's got a legal element, which means that you can identify a way to win that case. If you've got a powerful legal argument, it's like an itch that you can't neglect. You have to do something about it.
Stephen Slater's first task was to prove that Nancy's mother actually came to the UK. The Home Office said they had no record of her.
Government departments routinely destroy historic records. They have a document destruction policy which erases the very records which people would need to submit to the Home Office. But with a bit of digging, it managed to find her mother's General Nursing Council qualification. The fact that it was dated 1971, that meant that her mother had settled status. So if her mum had settled status, chances are Nancy would have had settled status. Thanks for coming in. Right, shall we come through?
Nancy's children, Lita and Deja, have never applied for British passports, so their situation is less straightforward.
Would we have rights in Gambia?
Would they?
Well, let me explain. You haven't, for this reason. Gambia does not allow dual citizenship. If you went to the Gambia and said, I'd like a Gambian passport, the Gambian government would turn around and say, I'm sorry, you're British, we don't
so they
issue Gambian
passports. Back to England. England would back to Gambia.
You were British on the day you were born here. You have double claims on British citizenship. So you have a claim that is your birthright because you were born here and you have a British father, and on top of that, your mother had settled status in the country. So it's not, you're not stateless. You are just as British as I am. So we've submitted an application for a first British passport, but unfortunately a rather short-sighted passport agency is not recognising that right. And because they haven't granted a first British passport to you, we have threatened them with a judicial review.
There's that one thing that I always thought, like, I don't want this, like, whatever, all the past, like, what's happened with us to go away silently. I want to, like, kind of, like, make a bit of noise. Like, there's one thing for us to just win the case, but I want, like, something more. Like change to happen.
I don't want the Home Office to wriggle out of responsibility for this. What they have to do is put your life back to where it was had they not made that error.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to go further with this, to force policy change, to make a civil claim, then we'd be very happy to accept your instruction. There are lots of Windrush applicants who are in exactly the same circumstance. It's only by individuals asserting their individual entitlement that you then throw a light on what went systemically wrong. So, the power is in your hands.
One of the things that I've seen over the last 20 years is the systematic removal of compassion from the immigration system, and it's been replaced with a sort of box-ticking culture at the Home Office where officials are given very little discretion to make common sense or human, frankly, decisions in cases. And so if you find yourself caught in the immigration system, your whole basis of being in the United Kingdom, your whole life that you built for yourself here, suddenly feels like it's about to be taken away. And in some cases, it is taken away.